is awesome.
All right. Hey, so good morning, everybody. I am trying out a couple new things today. So the camera is the new Mevo Start, and pretty excited about it. It's taken me a few days to understand. I was having some problems with it, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it to connect and come online anyhow. And what I actually found out was I downloaded the wrong app. If you download the app for the multiple camera setup, it doesn't like to work with just a single camera. And I guess that makes sense. So, okay, real quick, I made a couple of posts on Reddit about the PEI sheet. So yesterday I went to print this. I see I got some stuff stuck on the edge there. So this is a two-piece cover bracket, mounting bracket, okay? And this will get glued on here. And I just printed it in two pieces because the first time I tried to print it, it prints with a whole ton of infill. It takes a lot longer to print, and I just didn't like how it came out. And I was trying to get the, not infill, but the support. And even though I used like 0.24 millimeter Z clearance there to try to remove the supports, I just had a terrible time getting the supports out. Of course, it's printed in PETG, and that tells you everything, doesn't it? So PETG is hard to print with in a lot of respects. This bracket gets mounted in a car, so it's going to be subjected to lots of high temperatures in the summertime with windows rolled up, and it's in a black car, so that makes it even worse. So anyhow, so it needed to be printed in PETG. If I'd had any black ABS, I probably would have done it in ABS, but I didn't have any black, and so anyhow, there's the bracket, and I think it came out really good. I just have to glue it together. So I'm going to move it off to the side. So I started printing it yesterday on the Artillery Sidewinder, and I could not get that PETG to stick to the bed. And now, granted, I was using hairspray on the original Sidewinder bed. And I have printed PETG before, but I struggled yesterday and I ran out of patience with it. And I actually had this sheet of PEI that I had bought for my SVO3. It's a little too small for this oval, but I was going to try it anyway. And I still have the SVO3 completely dismantled right now as I'm waiting on a few other things for it. And I really needed to get this part printed for today. So I just wanted to, get it printed, get it done, and move on with things. So I grabbed the sheet of PEI, and it was self-adhesive on the back, and then there's the blue layer that you have to take off of the front. And I mean, it's perfectly smooth. You can see how shiny, glossy it is. It just has a slight amber tinge to it. And I think all that is probably the adhesive that's on the back of it that's colored. So anyhow, before I printed, I jumped online and I read a few things about printing with PEI. And one thing it cautioned about is if you're going to print in PETG that you need a release agent, because otherwise it will stick so well that it'll actually pull the PEI off. I mean, it'll ruin the PEI sheet. Your print will get stuck to it and it won't come off. So I ended up just using a little bit of hairspray. I think this is just a white rain. I always look for $1 a can at the dollar store, so I use whatever's cheap. So I sprayed it with just a light coat of hairspray so that the part would actually release after it cooled. And I came down here this morning and it had printed, really well. And just by hand, I was able to pull it off of the print bed. And so anyhow, really happy with that. So if you're struggling, and they say even with PLA, it doesn't hurt to use a little bit of a release agent. Some people say PLA pops right off when it's cold, but I read a couple of people that said that even PLA had stuck a little bit too hard, and they had to, scrape it off of there with try to get a scraper underneath the edge. And, anytime you're having to use scrapers and get underneath the edge of your prints, you risk of damaging your surface material on the build plate. So I like the fact that these just pulled off by hand once the bed was cooled. If I'm in a hurry to get a print off of the bed, I have a small fan, and I plug in a small fan and I just blow it right on the bed. And you'd be surprised how quickly that'll cool a bed down back down to room temperature in just a couple minutes. So that's what I do. So if you are still struggling to get things to print on the print bed, I suggest giving the PEI sheet a try. Of course, I've been shopping now, and I gotta find a new sheet for the SVO3 because I borrowed this one. So I'm putting the SVO3 back together, and now I don't have a PEI sheet for it. So I think I'm going to try the spring steel sheet on the Soval SVO3 and see how that goes, because it's a removable plate, and you can slightly bend it to get the prints to pop off of there. I just mentioned this really quick. So this is the Soval SVO1. And remember what I've been working on it, and something that I did the other day, I was having trouble again. Here's another printer that I was using hairspray and glue sticks and everything else, and I had these sheets laying around. So the what was it called? That Duramic surface, and I don't know what that is. It's a black. It doesn't feel like PEI. Somebody can tell me what the Duramic surface is. I can't remember right off. But anyhow, so I put this on the SVO1. And so what's interesting about it is, so now I don't use any hairspray, no glue stick, no prep at all on the Soval SVO1. But you have to heat this up to about 80 degrees C on the first layer. So as long as you heat it up to 80 on the first layer, maybe it is PEI. I cannot remember. But on this one, I heat it up to 80 degrees on the first layer. And then after that, it does not matter. You can run the temp back down to 50 or 60 for the rest of your print, which is good for PLA because after the first layer, 80 degrees will melt PLA and it'll deform it. So what's cool about this one is, and I didn't have a sheet that was big enough for this printer, but I had two different sheets. So I just cut them into strips and stuck them on here. And anyhow, first layer at 80, everything else after that layer, it doesn't matter. 50, 60, 40 degrees, whatever you want to print it at. And it sticks like crazy, and it comes right off when it's cold. So anyhow, I just thought I would mention that. So, I know a lot of people struggle with bed adhesion, but some of these new products, pretty stinking awesome, let me tell you. Okay, I am going to stop it there and let you go, and I hope you all have a great day 3D printing.